Robin Gibb may have looked like the quiet twin, the gentle voice behind the Bee Gees' timeless classics, but behind the calm exterior was a turbulent life story filled with soaring success, deep heartbreak, and dangerous spirals. By 1981, the same man who could melt hearts with trembling vibrato was being investigated by the FBI for death threats. Long before then, at just 17, Robin had begun using a potent drug that kept him awake for days. By his 30s, he had engaged in over 100 affairs and had been legally barred from seeing his own children for 6 years. Friends described his behavior as extreme, sometimes frightening, and even those closest to him couldn't always recognize the man they had once known. The public saw a talented musician. What they didn't see was a man teetering on the edge. Robin Hugh Gibb was born in the early hours of December 22, 1949, at 3:15 a.m., arriving 35 minutes before his fraternal twin brother, Morris, at the Jane Crookall maternity home on the Isle of Man. That small gap in time became a symbolic quirk in the family. Robin was always a little ahead, a little more intense, while Morris would grow into the more easygoing and playful twin. Their father, Hugh, paced the hospital floors, while their mother, Barbara, labored through a difficult birth. Both boys survived against post-war Britain's odds, entering a world still rationing food and struggling to rebuild. Music was in their blood from the start. Hugh Gibb was a drummer and band leader who performed across England and Scotland, while Barbara had a clear, melodic voice that once fronted bands herself. At night, while other households were quiet, the Gibb home was alive, with jazz rhythms and harmonies. The boys absorbed it long before they could speak, and though their parents never forced music on them, it was always in the air. Yet, in mid-1950s Manchester, the Gibb brothers Barry, Morris, and Robin were known less as future pop icons and more as troublemakers. They skipped school, shoplifted, and even set small fires. Robin was once hauled home by the ear after being caught red-handed. But amid the mischief, there was already a spark of ambition. Neighbor Marie Beck remembered 8-year-old Robin, declaring matter-of-factly in her living room, "We're going to be rich one day. We're going to form a band." People laughed at the time, but he meant it. By 1958, the family's financial situation was dire. Seeking a fresh start, Hugh and Barbara joined a government resettlement program, moving the family to Australia. After a nearly 2-month sea voyage, they landed in Redcliffe, Queensland, with little more than hope. Within weeks, the boys were performing at the local speedway, singing on the back of a truck between races while dodging speeding bikes and collecting tossed coins. Bill Good, a man who worked at the speedway, spotted their potential and introduced them to DJ Bill Gates, who helped christen them the Bee Gees and connect them to Festival Records. In 1963, Barry was just 17, the twins only 13, when they were signed to the label. The early recordings were raw, but showed glimmers of something unique, especially their harmonies. Yet by 1966, Festival considered dropping them. That changed when Barry wrote Spicks and Spicks, a song whose melancholy lyrics and haunting harmonies shot up the charts, reaching #1 in several regions. Overnight, the Bee Gees were national stars in Australia, with fame-king television appearances and magazine spreads. But the brothers knew Australia wasn't the endgame. In January 1967, they sailed back to England. Unbeknownst to them, their demo tapes had already landed at Polydor Records. Within weeks, manager Robert Stigwood signed them to a 5-year contract. Their debut UK single, New York Mining Disaster 1941, introduced Robin's trembling vibrato to the world, a haunting sound that set them apart from the psychedelic pop dominating the charts. The song's success in the US and UK positioned Robin as the Bee Gees' voice of quiet heartbreak. Later that year, Massachusetts cemented that reputation, becoming their first UK #1 and a global hit despite none of the brothers ever having been there. By 1968, Robin's performance on I Started a Joke, inspired by the drone of a plane's propellers, was so emotionally raw it became one of his defining moments. Critics like Paul Gambaccini would later call Robin one of the best white soul voices ever. But the intensity of constant touring and recording took its toll. In July 1968, Robin collapsed from nervous exhaustion, a polite industry term for total burnout. At only 18, he was placed in a nursing home to recover missing sessions. For the album Odessa, tensions rose in 1969 when Robin's song Lamplight was demoted to a B-side in favor of Barry's 1st of May. Feeling sidelined, Robin quit the band at just 19. Rumors of drug use circulated, and his parents considered legal action to gain control over his affairs. Robin struck out solo, scoring a hit with Saved by the Bell, but the Bee Gees without. Robin floundered. By August 1970, the brothers reunited, realizing their true power was together. Still, their early 70s albums underperformed, and critics dismissed them as Beatles imitators until a move to Miami in 1975 changed everything. Under producer R.F. Martin, they embraced R&B rhythms and Barry's falsetto, scoring hits like Jive Talking and You Should Be Dancing. Then came Saturday Night Fever. In just a few days, the brothers wrote 5 songs: Stayin', Alive, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love, More Than a Woman, and If I Can't Have You. That would define the disco era. The soundtrack sold over 40 million copies and won the 1979 Grammy for Album of the Year. At their peak, they were among the world's best-selling artists, moving more than 220 million records. But Robin's personal life was unraveling. His methamphetamine habit, begun at 17, wrecked his health and mind. FBI records from 1981 reveal he sent death threats to his estranged wife, Molly Hollis, and her lawyers. His drug-fueled affairs, over 100 in total, became an open secret, with friends and staff pulled into his late-night demands for new partners. Robin had met Molly in 1967, just weeks before surviving the catastrophic Hither Green rail crash together. They married, but by the early 80s, addiction and infidelity destroyed the relationship. In 1983, Robin violated a gag order during their divorce proceedings and was briefly jailed. He later married Dwina Murphy Gibb, whose open-mindedness matched his eccentricities. Despite public scrutiny, they stayed together nearly 3 decades. Tragedy struck in 2003 when Morris died unexpectedly from complications of a twisted intestine. Robin said he felt as though half his soul had been torn away. Though the Bee Gees were effectively over, Robin continued solo work and philanthropy. In 2011, he was diagnosed with colon cancer but appeared to rally by early 2012. Plans for new music were underway when his health suddenly collapsed. On May 20, 2012, Robin Gibb died not from the cancer itself, which was in remission, but from liver and kidney failure caused by the treatments. In his final days, he spoke often of Morris. Unable to accept his twin's absence, he requested that How Deep Is Your Love be played at his funeral. A last farewell steeped in longing. For all the fame, scandal, and triumph, Robin Gibb's life was ultimately defined not by disco anthems or chart records, but by love for his brothers, for music, and for the people who stood by him through chaos. It was a love that endured until his very last breath.